It's not unusual for a parent to tell you that they fell in love with their child the moment they met them. And that's exactly what Stef Vachon felt. The moment that he and his husband walked into the space and sat down on the floor and were greeted by their 3.5-year-old son, Stef knew he was in love. And that love hasn't wavered in the years since he and his husband took their child home with them and became dads to their beautiful baby boy. Today, I have the opportunity to share with you the story of Stef's family creation journey. Welcome to the Becoming Baby Ready podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome, everyone. Today, I am really excited to be sitting down chatting with Stef Vachon, a fellow Canadian, all the way over in Montreal. Not that far, really, by the grand scheme of things in this country. Welcome, Stef. I'm so glad that you're here. Please tell everyone who you are and about the members of your family.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm in Montreal, as you said. I have a husband that we've been married for 10 years now. And we have our son that we finally went through the adoption a year ago exactly, last
Wow.
Friday.
Wow.
And it took 4.5 years to go through the adoption. We had to start with as a foster family. That was our choice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our pug, Paulette, a little pug girl. She's really sweet too. So that's our whole family.
Oh my gosh. When you and your husband first started talking about having children, adoption was and fostering was the route you talked about right from the very beginning, was it?
Yeah, well, yes and no, but that would take a few days to tell you the whole story. But when we first met, my husband had talked to me about it. I've always wanted to build a family when I was from starting a really young age.
Mhm.
I think with the path and getting older, I kind of put that on the side and thought I was not,
Yeah.
deserving or whatever.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm past in my 50s. I should be thinking of retirement
Hmm.
instead of, and I kind of let go of that dream, but that was like one of my biggest dream in life. And then my husband had talked to me about it, and I was like, nah, getting too old. We should forget about that.
Right.
And then we watched a movie called Lion. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's about this Australian couple that go to India and they adopt this young boy. But it's a amazing movie, but just basically we cried the whole movie. It was so like one of the most incredible movie I've seen. So me and my husband are pretty much the same. So the next day, I just texted him and I said, I've changed my mind. Are you okay with that? And then he said, yes, a big yes. And then that was it. So right away we started Googling what was possible for us, the options. In Quebec, we're lucky too. There's the LGBT Family Coalition that was really helpful.
Yeah.
So we looked at all the options, and it's getting narrow, huh? More and more as we're going, times go by, and me and my husband went to see my therapist because I really wanted to explore and see. what we really wanted. And right away, my our thoughts were like, in this crazy world, I don't want to bring another human being.
Hmm.
There's so many children
Right.
that needs a family and are in need of something better.
Right.
So, and a few weeks prior to that, we were volunteering in a school for breakfast. Like serving breakfast in schools that for kids that were not so fortunate.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm gonna try not cry. That there was this little girl that was staring at me the whole time, but she was staring at me with her eyes. Her soul was empty, but she kept looking at me straight in the eye the whole time. And I tried to make a conversation with her, and she was just sitting away, like on the table, and she would not eat. She would just look at me with her face was, she looked like she was dead.
Oh.
And I went to work. I cried the whole day. I was
Yeah.
like, it touched me so much. And then I told my husband, I said, no, if we're having a child, it's going to be a child that we're going to foster and then hopefully adopt. And that was the goal in the process here in Quebec. There's they call it the bank mixed bank, which
Hmm.
is you start as a foster parent, but the goal is really to adopt your child at the end.
Okay.
There's a really, really slight chance that the child might go back to his biological family, but
Hmm.
so slight, like really, really, really small. So, and I don't know why I knew in my heart that he was going to stay with us. I don't know why, but I was convinced that, okay, we're starting this and we're going to end up a family. I don't know. I just follow my intuition. So yeah, so that's how we chose to have our son.
Listening to your heart, though, is such a huge part of parenting in general. So it sounds like you just started before there was even a child placed with you. Can you talk a little bit about the program as it sits in Quebec? I have a little bit of awareness of how things function in Ontario, both from having kind of looked at it myself, but also from past guests that I've spoken to. I haven't spoken to anyone who has gone through the process in the province of Quebec. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what's involved to be able to get to the point where you can foster?
Well, what I'm gonna say is it's a real roller coaster ride.
Right.
It's you have to you're a con if you're a control freak like I was, you learn to let go right away.
Okay.
It's really, really, it's quite the ride because first the deal is with like our son, he was taken away from his family and put in urgency into a foster family, waiting for another foster family that would be willing to adopt.
Hmm.
So first you welcome your child into your family and your foster family, but for a while, your child still has visits with his biological parents.
Okay.
So this is when it gets really emotionally challenging because what happened with us is our son had to visit his parents twice a week into with supervised visits and twice a week. And the judge the court had that's how it was set up for him, so it's all different from every kid, every family.
Okay.
So you don't know how long this is going to take. It might take a few weeks, months, years. I've had people that I've talked to that it took like 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it's a process that you go in and you're like, Okay, I'm sitting in the back of the bus. I'm not driving. And we really chose to we really chose to go one day at a time,
Yeah.
try to make the best of every day. And our role was, okay, we're there for our son, and we have to give him that stability, that security every day. That was our role first,
Hmm.
believing in your guts and in your heart that we all gonna end up a family by law. So then it took actually for a whole year. That's what happened is that we would go twice a week to visit the biological parents, and he also had other brothers and sisters
Okay.
that were also in that family that were split into either other foster families. And so they would also meet once in a while. And it was really tough because the behaviors would go like this, like a roller coaster
Right.
every week. So when he would be in those meetings, he would get out totally. I used to call him like a Mexican bean.
Yeah.
It was really hard emotionally for him. He was 3.5 when he came with us. So he
Okay.
does really remember,
Yeah.
his parents, biological parents, and the other members of the family. So uh, for a whole year, it was like that. And then finally, the judge, there was not an improvement on the behaviors of the biological parents. So the judge gave us, attribute us all the parental legal rights, all of them in one session at court.
Okay.
So then we were then able to present the adoption process and say we wanted to go through the adoption process. So all of this took 4.5 years
Wow.
until last week, a year ago. Like we were finally, we went through the adoption, through the adoption, but it was a lot of legal visits to courts, a lot of visits to the social workers. It was a lot of a
Yeah.
lot of roller coaster rides. But we really decided from the start that we were gonna go. Our thoughts were, okay, we're not gonna think about us and our fears and to try to control anything that what's going on. Our goal is to make our son safe,
Right.
give him a safe space where he feels that he's totally loved and he feels secure. We've heard lots of stories where some of the kids, it took a long time for them to feel comfortable to connect with the parents.
Right.
For the three of us, it was love at first sight right away.
I
We
love that.
were at the social worker in a small room, and then we were waiting to see him for the first time. We only had seen him once on video really quick. And this is like right when COVID started. So, but
Mm.
that's another subject.
Yes.
And when they opened the door and we saw his little face, and every,
Mm.
every time I tell that story, whew, I feel like overwhelmed with happiness. And then
Yeah.
I saw his little face. I sat right on the floor, and me and my husband, and we all looked at each other, and that was it. I don't know, like for us, it was like in the movies.
Yeah.
They kept
Oh,
telling us, don't think it's gonna be like in the movies, but for us, it was.
yeah.
It was like we connected right away, and we saw him for an hour, and then we sat down with the social workers, and it was like, okay, this Saturday you're going to get him, and you guys are gonna be dads. It's like, oh my God. So it went like this. It went that quick. Once, But before that, there's a whole process of uh, psychological evaluations,
Right.
filling papers, all of that. It took just to get ready. It took like and the wait because you have to wait. They have to place
Sure.
the kids with who would fit best. It took over 2 years,
Wow.
like this whole process before.
Yeah. It, and you've even heard me say, it doesn't have to be expensive because, you can do it through the public system as you're
Yeah.
doing. But that's just monetary out of pocket expensive. When you're talking about 2 years worth of classes and appointments and programs and being evaluated and assessed and judged
Oh yeah.
on who you are, and then the wait. I mean, all of that just to get to the point to meet the child who would become your son. There's that isn't inexpensive in terms of emotional expense because you've had to really bare your soul and be vulnerable to give yourselves the opportunity, which, and I don't want anyone listening to misunderstand me. These children have come from difficult circumstances and deserve for the adults around them to be making sure that every single I is dotted, every single T is crossed. I don't think any shortcuts should be taken for these
Mhm.
children who deserve to bring happiness and joy to a family by joining a family. However, that doesn't mean that it's not without an emotional cost to you and your husband.
Oh, you don't even know. And
No.
the funny thing is, um, we had given up on the project because, okay, what happened is that we live in a small condo in Montreal, one bedroom, and we're like, okay, so all our straight friends, and because we only had straight friends with that had children at the time,
Right.
were telling us, oh, you have to find a house. You can't have raise a child in a small condo like you guys. And we looked everywhere. We didn't find anything we liked. So finally, we decided, okay, we're just gonna invest and transform our condo into a two-bedroom, which was an amazing project, and it was great. We did it all together, and it looked exactly like what we wanted. But then time is passing by, and then we had moved into our small little bedroom, and we left the big bedroom for, our child to be coming with us. And time passed, went by, and then the room was empty. And
Mm.
so just 2 weeks prior to we got finally the phone call, we sat down and we said, well, I think that, we'll just forget about it because it's not going to happen. It's not
Right.
happening. So we went back into shopping some new furniture for a bedroom, going back into the big bedroom.
Hmm.
Then just 2 weeks later, I am away for work. My husband is having fun in Mexico with some friends and he's having a margarita on the beach. And then I get the phone call and I'm like, oh my God, like, and I was gonna say to the woman that called us, well, we changed our mind. And then I was with a girlfriend that adopted in China, and she just gave me the biggest hit on the arm, and she's like, "Shut up, wait." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, I just didn't know how to process, and so I told the woman, "Well, first let me think, let me talk with my husband." And then we hung up, and then my girlfriend was like, "Stefan, do you realize what's going on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but we changed our mind, and I don't know anymore." So she's like, call your husband right away. So I called my husband. He's on the beach with this margarita. And I'm like, I said, honey, they just called me. That's the other story where I get always emotional. And his face just blossomed. And that was it. That's all I,
Hmm.
that's all that's all I needed to see and hear. So okay, go back into we go back into the project, and after we had the call, it took a few weeks, and COVID hit,
Ugh,
um, which for me, COVID were the best years of my life. I'm sorry to say that. There's a lot of people that know it was hard, but for
absolutely.
us, 1 week before they shut everything down, we ran to IKEA. We got a furniture for his bedroom. At the time, we still didn't know if it was going to be a girl or a boy.
Okay.
Like, we didn't know, we just knew that there was one little angel coming with us,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't know yet. And then everything shut off. We got the last phone call. You're gonna meet him this week on Zoom once. Then we met him once on Zoom. He was in his foster family. He had been there for a month. It was all new, from leaving his biological family. And then we met him once on Zoom. And then that was okay. You're gonna meet him this Saturday on our social office, was social worker office. So this was all in within 5 days. And
Wow.
then there's Saturday, we drove, and then we got to the foster family, and we had prepared a little T-shirt with our pug on it, and it says, and it was we wrote his name, and we had given him that when we first met him. So when we got to the driveway, he was in the window with his T-shirt,
Oh, oh.
waiting for us, and so we went to get him.
Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back.
Hi there. I'm Rowan J. Knox, author, speaker, and human rights advocate. I'm also a dad, and my kids are growing up. And now that they are growing up, my partner Danny and I are trying something new. We are opening a trans-owned and operated coffee shop in the heart of Toronto's LGBTQ village. It's going to be called Understory, and we really hope you'll check it out when it opens this winter. If you want to know more, you can visit us at understorycafe.com. See you soon, Toronto.
And then we left. We had the baby seat in the back. We sat in there, and then we drove away. And I have to be honest, I had like a 2 minutes when I went, "Oh my God, we're not bringing a dog home. We're not bringing a cat home. We're bringing like a human being." This is
Right.
like I
Yeah.
had like 1 or 2 minutes where I had like not a panic attack of no, but it was like, "Oh my God, my life now is completely changed forever." Like, I
Yeah.
have this whole human being sitting in the back like this,
Yeah.
he's all like, he's looking everywhere, smiling, and like I have now this responsibility
Mhm.
for life, to this little tiny human being. And
Yeah.
then it lasted for like 2 minutes where I kind of freaked. And then that year, because we had to be one full year with him 24 hours a day, both of us. That's was one of the condition, because of
Right.
course, but we were lucky enough with our work that we could do it.
Hmm.
And that was a condition to make sure that uh, his attachment, we got
Right.
that he gets attached to us, and he gets to know. I mean, he's 3.5. He's
Right.
not a baby.
Right.
And that's our first time being parents. It's
Yeah.
such a big learning experience. So everything was shut down. There was nothing to do but being the three of us together. The most amazing year of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Mm,
what a gift. What
yep.
what a gift. How did you navigate the visits though? Because that was during COVID. So did you just bubble with his biologic family and then
Yeah, we
nobody saw
would
anybody
just go.
else?
Yeah, we would. There was a few visits that were only on Zoom, because sometimes, it would be prohibited to see each other.
Right.
Others, when, the government here was like going on and off and on and off about closing everything, reopening a little bit. So we would have to, of course, wear the mask and just go into the waiting room, and then they would come get him and take him to see his parents. But still, there was some risk of, COVID. But I think it was one of the thing that was really mandatory for the government to,
Right.
like, health hospitals and everything. So this was part of, yeah, we need to go through the process. So sometimes it was on Zoom, sometimes it was in real,
Hmm.
and but twice a week, it was really, really, really challenging.
Hmm.
At first, I remember the first visit on Zoom. I mean, to me, and to us, he was our son right away. But you have to think, okay, he still has his biological parents, and I don't want to take that away from him.
No.
That's important that he knows. And
Yep.
we went through such an open mind of, we're never gonna stop him from knowing,
Right.
from seeing, from. So now with insight, I can tell you that it was really hard when it happened, but I think to be able to give him those options, and that not stopping him from, and never make him feel like it's wrong that you still have to go see your biological parents.
Hmm.
But I have to tell you that the first visit, I remember I was taking courses in school, and I was on my Zoom, and then my husband was with the social worker and the biological parents in the back, and I was trying to follow my course, but I just couldn't, of course. And then I heard the parents' voice talking to our son, to their son too,
Hmm.
and my heart just like, oh my God. It was like, no, he's my son, but no, he's their son too,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
And it was a really, really rough minute. But again, we had to think of what's best for our son.
Yeah.
And the mission, again, was to give him the security and the love that he needs.
Yeah.
And the process is like that. You have to accept the process and just go through with it and make the best out of it every day.
Yeah, that's very true. But it must, I mean, as you say, it takes time to let your brain and heart evolve to that point. I mean, knowing something intellectually is one thing, but you love him, so you just want to protect him and keep him close and safeguard him against any hurt that could come his way.
It was always going back to the basic. We had some, of course, some little bitching issues where we had to go at it without
Hmm.
him being there for like a minute or two.
Hmm.
We're like, okay, let's vent everything that are all our frustrations, what's going
Right.
on, what we don't understand, blah blah blah, and how he was behaving after the visits and all that. And just for a few minutes, we're like, okay, let's vent.
Hmm.
And then let's go back to what's the basic. The
Right.
basic if is the well-being of our son.
Right.
So it was always going back, not put your ego on the side, put everything on the side about yourself, and
Yeah.
put everything about the well-being of our son.
Yeah. And
So
and
that's what it was, to go back
yep.
to the basic. What's the mission? What's our mission?
Hmm.
That's our mission. So forget about yourself.
Yep.
Forget about how, yes, it's tough, but what's our mission? So it's always to go back to the basic. Why are you doing this?
Hmm.
And yeah, I want our son to, when he grows up, to say, thank you for, being there and not stopping anything that might have been important for me. I
Right.
want him to know that, yes, he was allowed to, and still today, by law, he's allowed to see his mom if he asks.
Right.
And that's what we do. We have an arrangement, and but it's our decision to make if it's safe for him and how we make it safe.
Right.
But we still listen to him, and when he asks for it, we work something out.
But I think that that's, I mean, I've not been in your position, so I can't speak to that. But I would think that not respecting his request if he asks to see a sibling or a parent of biology for himself, then you worry that at some point, if you've said no to that for whatever reason, then you don't want him going to do it without you knowing that he's doing it. You don't want him to ever feel shame that he wants to to see or connect with his biological connection, right? That's what provides him with the security, knowing you love him enough to help him facilitate what he feels he needs.
Of course, from the start, we thought, okay, if it's possible and if it's safe.
Right,
Right now, it's not safe for him to see his siblings, except one that is finally adopted also with another foster family. By law, that's the only one, and one of his parent that by law is safe enough for him to see.
right.
So with those two, this is what we do.
Yeah,
And it's I always thought that I never want my son to tell me when he gets older to say, why did you stop me from seeing, you know, my brother or my mother?
hmm,
And I could never do that. That would be so selfish of me and of us, you know?
yeah,
So now it's again, go back to the basic.
yeah,
I want him to trust us.
yeah.
I want him to have all the options and it's important for him to keep this part of his life alive if it's possible and if it's safe, of
Right,
course. Yeah.
right. Yeah. It's, I mean, I think that it's a beautiful thing, the way that you've created your family with so much intention and love and uh, care, and that you continuously revisit the intention to keep it filled with love and respect and kindness for your child. I mean, that's all we can ever hope as parents to do is make our children feel secure enough to ask for what they need, and
Yeah.
you're doing that.
I'll have to give him that trust that he can trust us and tell us anything, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's my biggest wish, and that's what we want to provide for him. We want him to feel comfortable to be able to tell us anything,
Right.
um, how he feels, and to give him that, I think, is the basic. So he tells us, like a few weeks ago, he said, "I miss mom. I would like to see her." And I'm like, "Okay, let's think about it a little bit more. And
Hmm.
if you really want to see her again tomorrow, then we'll arrange like either a meeting on. We start with a Zoom meeting first, and
Right.
then in real. But then most of the time, weeks, months will go by
Right.
because we also I want to make sure this is not like sometimes he will see grandma or or he will see one of our friend and then you see another kid with his mom,
Yeah.
and his mom was the closest of his biological family, where he
Okay.
felt the closest. So of course there's this link to her that is really important, and I know, like we all know, that it's more than
Sure.
it's biological. It's really important. So, but as I said, sometimes they had been unsafe or it's not. So we really have to make sure that okay, he's ready and he really wants to. It's not
Right.
just a little something he's gonna say like, "I want an ice cream today." I'm not. I, I'm exaggerating, but I want to make sure that he's ready and he really wants to. So when
Sure.
he talks about it again, like in a really close time, okay, so I'm gonna write an email and we're gonna arrange something.
Yeah.
And it's been, I would say now over 6 or 7 months that he had not. talked about it. So, but when he talks about it, we respect it, and we make sure that after once or twice that we arrange something.
And that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And as I said, because you do respect what he asks, he knows that he can ask.
Yeah, exactly. I want him to do that when he gets a teenager. And yeah, I want him to trust us that he can, ask us and tell us anything.
That's all we want as parents, right? We want our children to feel safe with us. Yeah. I know that you're a figure skater, and that's a whole world for you outside of podcasting. Does your son figure skate?
He skates. He asked, actually, he's one of the reason why I started figure skating again. I had been a coach and a professional figure skater for many years.
Okay.
When COVID hit, I thought I got better do something else. Everything was shut off.
Right.
Went back to school, studied a few things, and thought, okay, I've done like so much of this for my whole life.
Hmm.
And I had studied, and I had been also a graphic designer in the past and all that. But I was like, okay, let's find something new. So I studied a few things in school. I studied digital marketing. I even studied tourism. I studied a lot of things, and then it's winter. There was a really nice ice rink in the old port here in Montreal, and my son is like, okay, I want to go skating. It's like, okay, so we need to find yourself some skates, and he's like, I want you to teach me. So put my skates back on, and the minute I got on the ice, it was like, I mean, it's always been, when I get on the ice, I get, how do you say, the goosebumps always.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, this is like, I need to get back into it. So he skates. We tried a lot of different sports. We really let him, I think he's still into his mind of he's still in a free spirit of I want to try anything and not too much of it. So
Right.
but he's a really good skater, like with hockey skates and stuff. And now it's funny you say that because this week he comes and he sees me at the rink now. I'm training, I'm back training for adult competitions,
Right.
and then he asked me this week if he could take like group lessons just to learn how to skate. And I'm like, are you sure? And but he's been asking me all week. So we're going to try this week, see if he likes it. Um, but I really want to make sure that he touches anything he wants now. He's playing a lot of soccer and basketball, and he's doing skateboard too. He's touching everything. And once he decides what he would like best, because I think I really, really want him to find a passion into one sport. I think it's so important for, a kid to find
Right.
something that he has a passion about and he wants to do
Yeah.
uh, as a sport. So right now we're like exploring all those. So we're gonna start skating, see if it goes into. I hope he decides on a sport that is an environment where it's less cold, so I don't have to sit in the stands and be cold again as I spent my whole life being cold. But um, we're gonna go with what he chooses. But he is actually, and he would be an excellent figure skater body wise because I think he's gonna stay short and thin, which is really good for figure skating. And he's like so flexible. It's like it's weird. But right now he loves all these sports together, He's trying all of that and he's just going with the wind. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah,
And that's all they can do at this age,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Try them all,
yeah,
see which
yeah.
one sticks. I want to take a moment and just thank you so much for taking the time to share your family creation story with me and my listeners today. Your stories and inspiration and the way you parent and parent from the heart is a gift to your family and to your child, and it's beautiful to listen to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. That was great.
As a queer individual with colonial lineage, I want to first acknowledge the land upon which I live and work. Being from what is now known as Burlington, Ontario, I recognize the original ancestry of these lands as they span from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment and beyond. These lands are steeped in Indigenous history that benefits my community every day. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I stand is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. The land dictates everything about our ways of being. Particularly, the land teaches us about fluidity. Concepts of the binary system and heteropatriarchy were imposed by the colonials who were, at the same time, removing children from their homes, families, and all that was familiar to them. These same children were divided by the only two prescribed binaries recognized by the settlers, and they were forced to conform to a performative, gendered falsehood. The land doesn't operate under binary thinking. It is diverse, complex, and unpredictable at times. Rather, the land holds us and all of our remarkable pasts and identities. Every organism and spirit has a purpose. It is from this understanding that I strive to live and grow. Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.